country after playing a doubleheader the other day is amazing. It's amazing to watch. But again, it gets back to October baseball. Very few things in sports, to my mind, are better than October baseball. It's the last gift of summer before the leaves fall off the trees and you put the storm windows on. This is it. This is it. Pay attention.
Yeah, so we're at the start of this. Incredible. And again, it's just why we all love the playoffs. You don't know who's going to win it. Mike, who's your pick to go all the way right now?
Philadelphia. I think the Phillies have the best team. I think in the end they'll prove they have the best team. They have the best pitching staff, I think, of all the remaining teams in the playoffs, even the ones who haven't played. Especially the Yankees have trouble pitching. Yeah. So I think Philadelphia, in the end, they take home the World Series. What do you think, Willie?
What did I say yesterday? I should say that again.
You went with the Yankees.
Yankees. I want to be consistent. I did go with the Yankees if they can pitch and if they can count on Luke Weaver as their closer in the bullpen. That was a real shaky spot for them this season. But their lineup is outrageous. It's so good. It's all come down to pitching. So I'm going to go with them. Mark DeRosa yesterday on the show agreed with you that the Phillies are going to win it all. Mike. Yeah.
Jonathan.
I went with yesterday with Phillies Orioles, so my American League pick is already on life support because of these 2 out of 3 series. I agree with Mike. I think the Phillies have the best lineup too. It'd be fun to see Bryce Harper get a ring. He's one of the game's most signature players. I mean, the Orioles. That's a great ballpark, a great franchise, a great fan base. I'd love to see it, but they're in trouble now. They need to start hitting. They sort of limped to the finish, and they got to win today, or well, my pick is really wrong. There's to it.
I mean, and you actually have to feel sorry for the Orioles. They've had a great team the last couple of years, but man, so far their playoff performance has just been absolutely dismal. I think we're going to have a replay, Willie, of the last World Series that the Yankees won, 2009, the Phillies versus the Yankees. I mean, I think that'll set up.
Nobody said the Mets.
As a great World Series. Okay, well, come on. Let's have a Subway Series where the Mets can take it 7 games.
That would be great.
Right?
Boston fans calling for a Subway Series.
Okay.
Go Chris.
That would be great.
See? All right. By the way, 4 minutes past the top of the hour, let's bring in MSNBC's Inside with Jen Psaki. Jen, you can comment on the Mets or
your thoughts.
Last night's debate.
Amazing.
Your thoughts.
Settle in, everyone. I have a lot of thoughts on the Mets. I do remember, okay, you're going to check me here. Didn't the Red Sox win in 2004?
Yes.
They?
Why would you bring that up?
Lost.
Why would you bring that up?
No, I'm bringing this up because I think there are superstitions that everybody feels around, because you said this time of year people can all cheer for sports, but then there are superstitions, like if the Phillies win, does that mean Joe Biden wins Pennsylvania? Like, how are we feeling? That's my question for everybody.
That's good karma.
Wow.
Well, okay, good karma. Okay, we'll root for that.
Okay.
But I know there was a debate last night. I did watch it for you.
Did your husband watch it?
My husband was watching baseball, for sure. For sure.
Okay, your take on the debate last night, Jen.
So we talked about this a little bit when we were sitting over there waiting. I think Tim Walz is one of the best communicators out there in Democratic politics. And he propelled himself onto the ticket because he is such an effective, good communicator. I mean, I've spent most of my time not sitting at this table, but traveling around the country on political campaigns. He is good for a reason. I feel like last night we didn't see the magic of him for the first 2/3 of the debate. And what I wasn't in the prep with him to say the obvious, but I feel like he was so worried about being able to repeat the 17th page of the plan, and therefore you didn't see the magic of him until the last third. Now, I think he made up for it at key moments in the last third of that debate on the Affordable Care Act. He pushed back, could have done more. He didn't finish the entire play just to keep the baseball thing going there. The moment on the 2020 election, that's the moment that the campaign has already turned into a campaign, an ad. So there were good moments, but what it told me coming out of it is I want to see the Governor Walz and the Tim Walz that we saw organically during Veep Stakes, who was out there on television doing all the interviews, sometimes messy, but connecting with people on the stage. And I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity, but I'm not sure that the outcome of that debate last night is going to change the outcome of the election.
Well, we've talked about the outcome. If you look at the polls that were taken out afterwards, the CNN poll actually shows that Midwest Nice really worked for Tim Walz. There are a lot of things we didn't understand. We thought he missed a lot of layups. We certainly didn't understand why he didn't have an answer ready for Tiananmen Square. He had to know that was coming since that was breaking news. There are other things that just didn't work. Look at this poll. This is a CNN poll taken of registered voters after the debate. And it shows actually Tim Walz, while they gave a slight edge to who won the debate. J.D. Vance won 51 to 49%. On favorability, those numbers, Jen, those are numbers we just don't see. Tim Walz, 59 favorable, 22% unfavorable. He went up 13 points, and that 13 points. J.D. Vance went up in that 11 points. But again, we all talk about that last answer that was defining. I've got to follow up, though, with your question about your insight to how he worked. You know, I'm always telling my kids, just like I tell politicians, just like I tell anybody that would ask me anything about business or negotiating or writing, it's all about reps, 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 reps. Keep doing it till you're not thinking about what you're doing. Yeah. And that's what Tim Walz was doing before he was picked.
Right.
Now, again, we just don't see him out there that much in interviews. Unleash the Walz.
Yes,
and
free
get
Tim Walz.
him
Free him.
comfortable.
Tear down that wall.
Tear down
there's
that
so many
walls.
analogies here.
There you go. But I don't really. Do you have any insight into the strategy for bubble wrapping him? A guy that, yeah, he's out there. He's Jim Gaffigan. That's why he was selected.
Right. Exactly. And he wasn't surrounded by a million advisors and pollsters and all of the people telling him what to say. He just did Tim Walz, and that worked to get him on the ticket. I think their strategy has been to have him do some local media, some podcasts, some softer things. I think they are missing an opportunity and not having him out there a great deal more. I don't mean that he needs to do hard-hitting national interviews with every single anchor out there. That's not what I mean. I just mean, to your point, Joe, reps. I mean, when I traveled with Barack Obama in both of his campaigns, he did local interviews at every single stop he did. He probably did 60 of them on election day. And I think the thing about this for people out there is nobody speaks in a perfect way out there who's going to vote or is paying attention. It's not about that. It's just about connecting and speaking to what people care about. And you saw there were moments of that in the debate. I thought when he quoted the Bible, when he talked about immigration, that was a powerful moment. I thought when he kind of pushed back a couple of times, again, during the Affordable Care Act debate, that was a good moment. But it just is more is better. And I think he was a little pulled back from the magic of who he can be as a politician. But I do take your point, Joe, on that, you know, we sometimes watch things and think, oh, he didn't follow through. He could have hit him harder. We also saw a little bit of a hint on how he won the Minnesota's governor's race and how he won. I mean, the first time I came across him was when he was running for Congress in 2006 in a Republican district, and I was working at the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. We all met him and thought, he seems nice. Too bad he'll never be in Congress. I mean, he clearly... He knows how to appeal to people in a way that a lot of people who are on the national ticket do not. So we did see some of that. I still think that you can do that without being muted. And I found him to be a little bit more muted than I think he is when he is at his best, which is often what we have seen over the past couple of months.
Yeah, and you know, the Midwest regular guy, he looked like it last night. And yeah, he was nervous at the beginning. Everybody could see he was nervous at the beginning. I'm not so sure a guy up in Wisconsin that's looking at this debate is freaking out because he's not as smooth as the Ivy League boy on stage. I think he's probably thinking, yeah, okay, I'd be nervous too. Let's see what the Padres are doing. And then he flips back over and goes, oh, well, this guy's okay. Again, I've never, and I know Jen and anybody else in politics would be the same way. You never know exactly how people are going to respond to debates. I remember when Barack Obama made an offhanded comment about Hillary Clinton. Oh, you're likable enough.
Yeah.
He was joking.
Right.
But you really would have thought he had gone over and slapped her across the face. And I still,
remember
to
that
this
well.
day, I'm still to this day going, really? Was that real? He was joking. But New Hampshire voters saw it differently. And again, look at this CNN poll last night, Mika. You never know. And this includes the debates, the hundreds of debates that I was in Gettysburg and I'm not Knucklehead. No, I mean in Northwest Florida. And you never know. Sometimes when you think you've done your best, people think you came on too strong. Here, Tim Walz, we're all being critical because he didn't do as well as the Ivy League guy did. And yet, look at the post-debate favorability rating. That is a number that Tim Walz has that politicians would kill for.
For sure. And go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say, I mean, the other challenge, is, as you all talk about every day, is this is not an on-the-level presidential race. And he was not standing on the stage with a guy who, as my mother would say, was on the level. I mean, J.D. Vance was campaigning like he was running with a different running mate. I mean, I don't know what that briefing book that he was using was not full of Trump positions or facts, either one. I mean, and that was who Tim Walz was standing on that debate stage with. So that is a challenge. It is hard to be, and I do think people want serious discussions and debates about policy, but it's hard to be the guy explaining the intricacies of policy when the guy standing next to you is lying in everything that comes out of his mouth and reconstructing history of the guy who is his running mate. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it was like watching a nervous, nice guy, Tim Walz, perform against a guy who was lying all night long. I get that. But the other aspect of it that I found interesting is, well, first of all, you know, we know very little in terms of what the public really thinks until we see these polls, then we're surprised by it. But you've got Tim Walz, and all you could think of, and again, back to a baseball metaphor, is roster composition. Tim Walz is clearly a leadoff hitter. Joe, he's a leadoff hitter, and the campaign isn't taking advantage of a good leadoff hitter. His job is to get on base, but in order to get on base, you have to do exactly what Jen was just talking about. You have to talk to people. That's his greatest asset. He's a human being. He's relatable. So he gets off that plane and wherever it is, Paducah, Kentucky, wherever it is, you go right to the local media and you do a 2 or 3 minute interview with him. It's on the news that night, and people watch him and say, hey, he seems like a good guy, which is what the poll shows.
Put him in front of local reporters in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Nevada. I mean, that's the key. And I will say also, Mika, that we're talking about Tim Walz not having a tight answer on an exaggeration about an event that happened in 1989. Compare that. Really, I'm asking people really if you can sort of look through all the fog and all the lies and all the disinformation. Compare that with the other guy on stage, the Ivy League guy, that was lying about what's going on in his own state, how he's making his own constituents' lives more dangerous,
exactly what he should have
more
said.
Disruptive, how he's damaging the economy. Yes, Tim Walz exaggerated about things in the past. J.D. Vance is lying in a way that not only hurts Americans' lives today, but makes his own constituents less safe